have heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbour and hate your enemy. The Lord in the Gospel is giving us something which is quite radical in its newness. The evangelical counsels invite us to give the possibility of our affective bonding unto Him alone. Poverty, obedience, the will being sacrificed, possessions given, and absence of attachment coming in to take their room and place in the soul. And so, in the Sermon on the Mount, there is this extra coming in, going beyond just the minimum, heroic charity. And with regard also to what He claims as Lord, when He claims the right to give and to ask for the gift of all, it means actually what He is saying. It's only with Christianity that we find massively souls understanding that this does mean celibacy, if one gives all, and really all. And so the radicality is there. And it's a treasure given to the Church that we do not want to lay aside. The grace is a treasure to be kept and not negotiated as though it didn't matter. It's a gift, and it's hugely liberating. The absence of complication that the evangelical counsels give is something beyond measure. If only we knew how unsimplified, how hugely complicated and complex is the life of a person who is married and trying to serve the Lord. It's very different, the situation in a Protestant manse, a vicarage, a rectory, where actually a whole family is in tow. One is divided. One's time is divided. One's energies are divided. One's resources are hugely divided. And the burden of economic responsibility is massive. Add to that the friction that might be there in the hearth of a home, for marriage is never simple. Then we see that what one is gaining is not as simple as one thinks. One is gaining a new set of problems that one didn't know. What one is gaining is the eventuality of divorced priests and all that might entail. If only we knew the treasure that we had. In the early 1970s, it was being discussed by the bishops together, but the Holy Spirit gave a powerful thrust that it was not to be. The Western Rite has its own specific characteristic in this realm, and the Lord wanted it maintained. It goes wrong when the interior life of the priest is not what it should be. And that is the area that should be looked at, not a fixing of the symptoms only. It is meant as a totality of love, and where that is there, the rest is bound to follow. When it is not, the other will follow and invade. But it applies also mutatis mutandis to the Christian soul who is listening to the Sermon on the Mount. For in a Christian country, what one finds is that because it is accepted as the norm of the culture, its heroic nature is sometimes forgotten, sometimes not always. But there are situations where we have families divided over land, or situations where such and such doesn't talk to such and such, and yet they might be going to church. Things which are not heroic, and indicate that we have not listened to what the Lord is asking in the Sermon on the Mount. Not more of the same thing in the Christian community, but something radically, heroically different. See how these Christians love one another, was the comment made about them in the early church. In a good monastery, something of that is felt, and felt also by those who come into it. It radiates warmth. In a bad community, something that is actually picked up also, an ice-cold fellowship. The advantage of the Christian gospel is that it does point towards the new commandment, and not towards the multiplicity of commandments, and therefore there is no excuse. At the end of our life, we will be examined on love. And let us never forget that in the course of one 24-hour period. Love matters now. It is the great interpreter of the law. How do I apply love here and now in this situation in such a way that my heart is truly not only in love with Jesus, but transmitting Jesus? I will be a person